Welcome to Stayf Draws. I'm Stayf van de Groot, a Dutch artist, and in this video I'm going to do a review about this illustrator. It's an American illustrator called TS Sullivant, and now there's a great book out and it's called A Cockeyed Menagerie. Thomas Starling Sullivant, or T.S. Sullivant, was a great American cartoonist in the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century. He inspired many cartoonists like Walt Kelly and artists at the Disney studios. When you look at his work, you can see why. He made caricatures of animals, but with great anatomical precision. I've been a big fan of his work for the longest time and downloaded a lot of the work from the internet. But now there's the ultimate book of the drawings of T.S. Sullivant, called A Cockeyed Menagerie, the drawings of T.S. Sullivant. When the book was published by Fantagraphics at the end of 2020, it wasn't available, probably due to distribution difficulties. I could not wait, so I first bought the ebook on Kindle. The first thing I did was look through the whole book to see if the original drawing I own was in the book. And there it was, on page 313. I'll just show you the original. I bought it at the San Diego Comic-Con in 2008. The original is very large. In those days, artists drew in larger sizes than the art would be printed in. This helped with the crispness of the lines. When you look at the original, you can see that it has a lot of scratches. I never found out what these scratches were. Maybe they were worn down over time. But as I discovered in this book, it was the way Sullivant drew. He would ink his drawings without sketching. When he did not like a part, he would scratch it out with a razor blade. So he drew on thick paper that could stand the scratchings. In the introduction of the book by R.C. Harvey, he quotes another illustrator Sullivant worked with, Art Young. T.S. Sullivant did more scratching on his drawing paper than any other artist I ever known. I never knew a cartoonist who fretted so much over the composition and the drawing of a picture. He would scratch out his lines and shadows until his paper was ragged before he could get the effect he wanted. Sullivant looked like an English lord of the manor, with his well-trained whiskers, clothes in heavy weave and knickers. I often saw him in New York and spent the day visiting with him at his home in Plainfield, New Jersey. Later I also bought the hardcover book. It's a big book of 360 pages. It is bound and has a reading ribbon. The cover has some nice embossing on it. The book is beautifully designed with some lovely end papers. Each chapter begins with an introduction by a contemporary artist like R.C. Harvey, Jim Woodring, Nancy Byman, Peter de Sève, Rick Marshall, Ricardo Martinez and John Cuneo. All of these artists are big fans of the work of Sullivant, and they express their love by showing their favorite pieces of art and how Sullivant inspired them. Thomas Starling Sullivant was born in 1854 in Columbus, Ohio. When he was 18, he moved to Germany to probably study art. He returned to the States in 1885 and studied at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts. When he was 32, his first cartoon was published in the small humor magazine Truth. After that, his cartoons were published in Pug Magazine, Harper's Weekly, and Texas Siftings. His Ace Up to Date series and other cartoons were published in Life magazine. Sullivant switched from Life magazine to Judge magazine. In 1904, he started to draw political cartoons for William Randolph Hearst. He only made these cartoons for 3 years and returned to Europe to study art again at age 53. When he returned to the States, he started to draw for Life magazine again from 1911 until his death in 1926 at the age of 71. I first saw the works of Sullivant in the documentary about the making of Fantasia. When they were working on Fantasia, they had copies of the work of Heinrich Kley and TS Sullivant as inspiration for the ballet scene with the hippos. It probably was Joe Grant that brought in these drawings from his personal archives. Sullivant drew a lot of hippos in more domestic scenes. When you look at these hippos, they are just astounding, with lush pen strokes and wonderful exaggerations. You can see why the Disney artists were so inspired by these drawings. Disney animator John Lounsbury worked on the animation, and also Preston Blair, as you can see in his book How to Animate Film Cartoons. Here are some key drawings of the dance with Ben Alligator and Hyacinth Hippo. When I bought the original drawing in 2008, I also visited the Dutch storyboard artist Wilbert Pleinaar at the Disney Studios. Wilbert showed me around the Disney Studios, and that was really a dream come true. On that day, Eric Goldberg was signing his new book in the hallway of the new animation building. I was standing in line with Wilbert and I got introduced to Andreas Deja. Andreas Deja has a collection of T.S. Sullivants. I showed him a picture of the original T.S. Sullivant I just bought. I can tell you it was a surreal experience being surrounded by great Disney artists at the Disney Studios and talking to Andreas Deja about T.S. Sullivant. Another artist I admire is Walt Kelly of the Pogo comics. He was also heavily influenced by the art of Sullivant, especially his prehistoric cartoons. When you look at this book, Pre-Hysterical Pogo in Pandomonia, you can see the inspiration. In this book you can see the development of T.S. Sullivant. He also got his inspiration from artists he admired, like Frost. In the beginning his cartoons were more naturalistic, with a very fine rendering of ink strokes. This style was old-fashioned in those days, and it derived from the way cartoons were printed. They were actually engraved so they could be printed. In those days the illustrations were carved out of wood blocks and later etched onto a plate. The illustrators would draw their images onto the wood block and wood carvers would carve out the illustration. Because all of the lines were carved out, they looked really graphical. Sullivant was an apprentice of the illustrator E.B. Bensel. He worked on wood blocks. You can see the influence on his earlier work. Everything was inked very graphical and with precision. Later he moved away from the tight inking and developed his own style of lush strokes. When you take a close look at his originals, you can see that the ink strokes are very loose and almost random. But when you zoom out, they make sense. At the end of the book there are some colored cartoons. The most interesting part of the book are the last pages. I wish they had shown more of them. There you can see the original art with all the stains and scratches. Here you will get a better understanding on how he drew. Just look at this simple sketch of a few lines. The rest he inked straight ahead. I also did some Sullivant inspired cartoons for Inktober. I'll leave a link below this video. I just used a fountain pen to make these cartoons. A Cockeyed Menagerie, the drawings of T.S. Sullivant, is available as a hardcover book and as an ebook on Kindle. I'll leave links below this video to Amazon. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Also don't forget to hit that notification bell, because each time I upload a new video, you'll get a notification. Drawing is fun, and practice makes perfect. See you next time. Doodles!